Should we kick off?
Yes, let's do that.
Are you okay? Perfect. All right, here we are with Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Philip.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll quickly do an introduction for you, and then I'm very keen to hear how you are taking the home office vibe. So Maria and I used to study together. We know each other from Copenhagen. And Maria is today country manager for Germany at Pleo. You came from a customer success background. You basically grew the customer success P team from day one. And we have to talk a little bit about your numbers because the story of Pleo is quite crazy. So you're basically one of the hottest fintech stories in the Nordics over the past years. You grew from 80 to 200 people, I think, last year. We are a customer. You guys saving us a lot of time every single day. And you also are, which is quite fascinating, a fully remote company. So thanks so much for joining, Maria. I'm very, very keen to hear how you guys are doing at the moment.
Thank you for having me, Philip. It's really exciting initiative you're taking aboard, and super exciting to hopefully share some learnings that will be valuable for others. You mentioned that we are fully remote. We are remote first company, which means we have a big portion of our staff remote on a full-time basis, Corona or not. And then we have offices around Europe, in Copenhagen, Stockholm, Berlin, London, and Madrid. And obviously, we have been in somewhat good shape to deal with this new reality of completely working from home across all our markets. That said, it has been a bit crazy, facing the reality, listening to the various press conferences from our different markets, and trying to navigate, trying to make quick decisions. And for us, it was a complete no-brainer to shut down our offices very quickly. Also because we are not a production company, we can actually function remote. Because we have a big portion of our staff already remote. We had already Zoom set up. We have most of our communication on Slack. So that meant we could basically take what we already had and just extensify that across the entire border.
Right. So where are you based at the moment? I thought about you guys a lot because we have been a little bit in a similar situation. So the last time we saw each other, it was still very, very nice in January at your housewarming at the factory here in Berlin. And you guys just started really kicking off Germany. You're the country manager of Germany, but you also told me you were commuting. So we were a little bit in similar spaces because we are also opening our office in Berlin at the moment. So tell me about that journey. And like, how many people just went back to Denmark because it was their main base, and how many people were actually staying in Berlin? How did you manage that?
Yeah, so I'm actually the only one who has some roots in Copenhagen, and that's why I was the only one who got back to Copenhagen, because my boyfriend, my family are here. So under normal circumstances, I would be in Copenhagen 1 to 2 weekends a month. But now, given that we're all remote, it makes sense for me to be back home. The others are staying in Berlin, and some have even, gone to their parents' place that are a bit more remote to be more in nature now, given the new circumstances.
Right. What I found quite interesting, and it was the same for you guys probably, when you have different office locations, you sometimes have different measures that the governments take place, of course. So different lockdown times and different activity. How was that with you guys? So we did actually the same, just to second that, what you said. So South Africa was a little bit later in terms of the news. So we sent people into personal lockdown, or voluntary working from home a little bit earlier. How did you guys navigate that? Because I personally found it quite exhausting just to adapt to what people already felt and heard, because personally it took me a while to realize all that stuff. And then navigating that through different markets. How did you as a leader cope with that, and what were your measures there?
So we have our HQ in Copenhagen, And Denmark has been one of the countries that have been a few steps ahead in terms of setting in new restrictions, taking the needed decisions. And that meant for us, it was somewhat an easy decision to just say, okay, we're founded in Denmark, and we really, as a company, we really want to do ours to ensure that we take a societal responsibility in this situation, which meant that it was a complete no-brainer to, and I think from the 1 to 2 hours after the first press conference here in Copenhagen, we made the decision to shut down. And we knew that the other markets would likely follow, maybe with a week or 2 weeks delay.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe you can explain a little bit more on what you guys do and who your customers are, because that, I think the behavior of our customers and also their needs and also, you know, impact our decisions and prioritization a lot. So can you maybe just give a brief run through what you do as a company, who your customers normally are, and what they're experiencing at the moment?
Yes. So we are basically streamlining the entire process for companies to handle their spending. So we empower employees to buy the stuff they need for work in an easy and hassle-free way. And then we streamline the entire process from the purchase being made, whether that is a virtual purchase or physical purchase, to the actual bookkeeping in the accounting system. Now we actually have a direct integration with Dativ. So it's basically ensuring that your staff is empowered to do their work. And at the same time, we allow the finance team to have full transparency, real-time overview, and automation of all the tedious work when it comes to bookkeeping. That's what we do, and our target audience are SMEs. In all the different markets we're in, we see that Pleo, because we are dealing with company spending, is valuable across all industries, across all sectors. So in that sense, our audience is extremely broad, and we have one-man companies, and we have 500 employee companies.
Right, got it. I mean, what we see a lot, and also with our customers, that right now, that's really something that gives peace to mind if you have a broad audience, right? Because you probably will not be hit so hard if one segment specifically suffers.
Yeah.
But I was wondering about your specific case, and I'm not sure if you can share that, is do you see a change in spending? Because I do a lot more online orders, obviously, than taking my team to lunch. What are you guys experiencing at the moment? How is your target group shifting their spending behavior?
We see a big shift almost overnight. We've seen that in general spending has gone down. That is not a big surprise in a crisis situation like we're in now. Obviously, the categories such as travel, events, etc., that is basically the category that has decreased the most.
It's gone basically, right? Like, I mean, gone.
Exactly. Yeah. However, what has surprised us is that this general decrease has happened across all spending categories. So we can see a decrease even in areas such as phone and internet. So it just highlights that, you know, all our customers, just like ourselves, we are suddenly becoming much more aware of our spending. We're streamlining where we can, cutting what we can. We are reevaluating suppliers, trying to make better deals with them, etc. And that's basically what we see with our customers as well. Luckily for us, we offer a solution that especially also creates value when you have distributed teams, when you have remote work. So you can say from a pure SaaS perspective, we we also see that companies with this situation start to realize the importance of digitalization.
Right. I mean, we see that push a lot. I guess certain decisions, we see this a lot because we deal a lot with IT development companies, digital transformation companies, right? And there's this spike in one area. So it's sometimes harder to get those big deals in right now because there's a higher degree of uncertainty, which lowers the commitment that people are willing to make. And then there's this other area where certain projects become suddenly so urgent and it has to happen now that they even get more work. Did you see, what did you experience? I don't know if you have overview of the other market, but for example, in Germany, what did you experience in terms of deal flow and certain things being implemented? Did you see a dip there in certain areas and a spike in other? Can you explain a little bit how you guys manage your pipeline and what do you see?
Yes, I think it varies a lot, and it varies depending on what type of prospect you're dealing with. So, you know, we see companies that suddenly actually have time to look at their internal processes and like, yes, we really need to up our game here. And they're working from home. They suddenly have that time because a lot of the operational work has been paused, right? So that's one group where we actually, you know, see much greater commitment and sense of urgency when it comes to that. The sense of urgency is also seen in the next group, which are those that really feel the pain of not being digital. So suddenly it hits them like a reality, you know, that they might not have digitalized majority of their business up until now. And then I can tell that they definitely have a sense of urgency to do that. And then there is the last group, which are those that, you know, either they are hit really hard and they are just struggling with the uncertainty that they're facing. They might also be that group that are definitely not set up for the remote work. So they have had to basically, you know, all men on deck, trying to figure out how do we as an organization start coping with this new reality where everyone are remote. They might not have been, you know, used to Zoom like we are, or Slack or similar tools. So then the more basic needs have the highest priority. So figuring out how do we even communicate, how do we do the meetings, all these day-to-day things are of course their main priority, where we also try to help as much as we can with the learnings that we have.
That's an interesting one because, I mean, I've always been a big fan of your customer success, which you build up, right? Because your experience is just one of the, it's just spotless, I can really say. And maybe that's an interesting one for us as well, because we're experiencing this. How does customer success and the perspective on the customer maybe have to change to different skill sets now? Because the requirements of your customers are not only around your product anymore, but about environment. Like, and you guys have been really top notch when it comes to user experience. Can you elaborate a little bit from the perspective of customer success? What are you guys busy with at the moment on top of the general stuff, supporting your customers with your own product?
Yeah. I think if we look at before this crisis situation, we of course were dealing with the product and the value proposition within that, ensuring product adoption, successful onboarding, all these kind of things. And then beyond that, you know, general accounting, so general spending practices that actually goes beyond our product itself. So we're already used to, like, you know, try to go beyond and see, you know, it might not relate solely to the product, but we do believe that we can advise and be the trusted advisors in other areas as well. That's what we see in this case as well. You know, trying to support them in whether it is creating healthier spending habits, or whether it is to support them in remote work. We've also launched a new initiative, a bit like this you have initiated, which is called Pleo Talks, where we basically also try to share what are the learnings also from our CEO's perspective. You know, how do you as a leader navigate your organization through a situation like this? So obviously it goes internally as well as externally, that when humans are faced with a situation like this and with so much uncertainty, just being there, being present, listening is one of the key things you got to do, whether it's for your employees or whether it's for your customers. And that's what we are trying to do, and do in the very best way.
Right. Maybe let's stick to the employee and team side for a bit, and listening and being empathetic there as a leader. So can you explain how you currently are managing your team, which is obviously not even in the same country as you at the moment, and what changed for you guys? What are your tools, not technically, but also the rituals that you're using? Can you explain a little bit what the German team is up to?
Yes. So we have a stand-up every morning at 9 o'clock. I think after the first week, I realized that that actually made me feel much more on top of things than if we were in the same office, which was very interesting. So definitely a lot of learnings there, but it just means that we have half an hour, 40-minute stand-up every morning. And that is a combination of social bonding, just interacting with other human beings, and you know, more serious work related stuff. So ensuring that we have a few things covered. You know, what is the plan of the day? What did I achieve yesterday? Is there any roadblocks? Is there anything I need from the rest of the team? And that's basically what we cover, which means that all of us are completely aligned of what's going on. And that has turned out to work extremely well. Then I've also realized that, you know, not being physically there also means that we use Slack much more. And from my experience, it works really well. There might be things that I would wait to deal with because I know I have a one-on-one with this person, or we have a sync tomorrow. But given the fact that we're kind of online, it just means that there's much more frequent check-ins, you know, very quick ones. You know, what's the status here? Or is there anything else you need from me on this? And that means that at least I have experienced that we're actually progressing much faster. I think that is also combined with the reality of being more focused. I mean, you know, you don't have a lot of people around you. You actually can sit and have much more deep work together with the syncs that you have throughout the day.
Right. So when I met you guys in January, and you just launched the Berlin office, everything was very much in expansion mode. And I guess for all of us, the new situation changed our reality. So we have to adjust our plans. And we're talking a lot with our clients about what should be the priorities be right now, especially in commercial expansion. How do you deal with that? And how have your priorities shifted potentially?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the second we closed down our offices, we also paused majority of our hiring. At that time, we had, I think, 30 to 40 open positions.
Wow, okay.
Because we've been in a hypergrowth mode. We paused all of them, which means that, you know, a big part of my time has gone into hiring, has gone into building the team that is on the ground now. And obviously, I'm not spending as much time on that anymore. We still spend a lot of time on press and awareness, and I would say this situation brings both opportunities but also challenges into that. You know, we've had a lot of really exciting news coming out, launching the data integration, and we have actually been struggling a bit with getting media coverage for that. to be very honest. We've been so extremely excited. We've been working on this for more than a year, and
I remember, yeah.
And suddenly the media had just they didn't pick up on it because they were in Corona mode.
Right.
You know, everything was just about Corona. So that has been one challenge for us just this week. Other priorities that have been shifted. I mean, as a company navigating through a situation like this, it comes in different waves. And, you know, the first wave is like the immediate, you know, shock adaptation, figuring out what are the immediate initiatives, a lot about how do we ensure that everyone are secure and safe and are set up to actually continue their everyday work life in their new environment. And then the second wave is more like looking, okay, how is this actually affecting us? There's a lot of readjustment of hiring forecasts, budget, both when it comes to like marketing spend and, you know, basically on all levels.
Right.
You know, we have a few times during the year, we have team camps coming up where the entire company is gathered. Those happen in the summer and the winter, and ours in the summer have been completely canceled, right? So there are a lot of like, suddenly there's small holes of time that suddenly pop up because suddenly you're not planning on all these events that you had set out to participate in, or whatever it can be. So I think for us, and especially for me, whatever I'm not spending so much time on prioritizing right now, I'm then spending the time on being there for the team, which in my opinion is the most important thing you have to do as a leader. Of course, having the bigger picture and making sure that we are steering in the right direction given the new weather. But it's also ensuring that you're really there for the team. So enhancing your one-on-ones, creating a space both on a company level but also on a more one-to-one intimate level where sharings can be shared, feelings can be shared, sorry. And we've also made different initiatives in Pleo to ensure that, and I think that is that's something that you as a company, because you're in a professional setting, can sometimes forget, especially in a situation where you're like trying to navigate this new situation and you're like trying to control everything, and especially in those situations, it's so important that you allow for humans to be humans. You know, we have a very international workforce. We have people that have family in Italy and in Spain, and you know, we have, you know, most of us cannot see our parents. Some of us are in the same country as our parents, and most of them are not. You know, there's so many more personal and relational issues that come on top of this, and we can only get out of this situation as a whole and as a strong unit if we ensure that all these feelings are being dealt with throughout the process.
All right. I think you mentioned something very important there. And we, of course, had our leadership meetings, and we work a lot with executive coaches as well, that we reach out to and seek help from time to time. And it's this notion of whenever you have the feeling and the need of really speeding up, you actually should slow down for a second and allow for the human part of it. Because if you don't, the stuff is not going to go away. The worries are not going to go away if they're not addressed. Yeah. And it's just going to bite you in the butt, quite frankly. So it's not even, it's a very pragmatic thing to do, almost, to slow down and take a look at, okay, now, especially now, we have to make time for people. Yeah. I'm glad you say this. And that's awesome.
And maybe to add to that, just a personal learning that might be relevant for others is, you know, creating such a space, whether it's in the company as a whole, or whether it's in an interaction like the one the two of us have now. It's you cannot necessarily force people to open up and
Right.
talk about what's going on, right? For many people, that they're not used to that, they've not trained the muscle of doing that. And one of the things that I have experienced is, if you as a leader just lead the way and start sharing, then you also show your own vulnerability, and you create that space, so that they at least feel they're invited to lean in and to share as well. On top of that, we've felt that over communication is absolutely key. You cannot communicate enough, especially in situations like that. So what Jeppe, our CEO, is doing is, he's actually, you know, besides the company-wide virtual meetings we have when needed, he's also making Loom videos on a weekly basis, with general updates, what's going on with him, what's going on in the world, what's going on with Pleo, how are we adapting, what are the assumptions we're making, and that we're basing the next decisions on. And that creates a level of transparency and honesty that makes people much more safe, even safe in the uncertainty.
Yeah, and I think it is a challenge to do that, and it always feels a little like, oh, should we share or should we not? But I fully agree, and we've tried to do this with or without Corona. Try to keep the level of transparency as high as possible, and right now I think it just will benefit you more than it actually will hurt you.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Just a little bit on that, Maria, and thanks so much for taking your own perspective and tools and tips. So how are you currently organizing your day to day? We always ask this because we're all kind of in the same boat. We all see the challenges of like our partner being around while having work. Some of us have kids and family, plus a dog, maybe, you know, and how are you getting into your day? What are your tools and routines?
Yes, so I'm usually going for a walk or a run in the morning. I'm fortunate to live in Copenhagen near the water, and the past couple of weeks the weather has been amazing. So it's like the earth is giving back to us with good weather. And that means, you know, I have a morning routine, then we have a check-in at 9, and then usually I might get a bit of work done before that, but otherwise it kicks off with a stand-up, which is also really nice to see a few other faces. And then for me personally, my day depends a lot on the needs in the company. So, you know, I might have a lot of meetings, or, you know, I don't have lunch at a specific time, but I know with myself that, you know, I need to also create those small breaks, because they don't appear themselves. You know, you are in a situation like this, you're really forced to create the structure yourself, and that is probably the biggest challenge for many of us. That we have to be much more proactive and reflective upon, you know, what are our needs, and how do we function the best. And we're all different, so there's no formula that fits everyone. So besides the work throughout the day, if I have time, then I would take a little walk in the afternoon before it gets dark. And otherwise, I really try to close my computer in the evening, so that I can somewhat have a normal evening, even if it's in the same room that I've been sitting in all day. So yes. Besides that, of course, there's a lot of friends and family that you don't get to see, and I think even though that is not work related, it's still relevant in a conversation like we have now, because it's part of us, and it's part of our mental health as well. So I'm really trying to have frequent virtual hangouts with my girlfriends or my family to feel those relations as well.
Cool. Yeah, I think we all come up with those tools. It's almost like a new work exercise that is forced on you right now, right? Like the inner work that needs to happen for true autonomy.
Yeah.
Maybe before we send you off, I don't know what your timeline is, Maria. How much time do we have left before you have to go?
I'm good for another 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Then we maybe we do 2 questions. The first question is, we always ask, what is your take on this? What do you think is happening and how do we get out on the other side? Can be very high level, but what do you think? And what is that doing maybe to the world and to your own way of working? If you can share.
Yes, I think it's a very interesting question. I'm a bit hesitant to say this, but I do feel that this situation in some ways can be a little blessing in disguise for us as a planet, us as humanity, us as a company, and us as individuals. And for me, I've experienced how we have more time to reflect. It doesn't just continue in that wheel that many of us are just a part of, and we don't question it because we, maybe we just want more and more and more, and suddenly that wheel stops, and we're actually forced to take a step back and to reflect and to look around. And even in my daily walks, I see new things of the city because suddenly there are no human beings to distract me. And I walk, I take more frequent walks, right? And that means that suddenly you get to see whether it's new things of your environment or whether it's new parts of your relationship with your partner, because suddenly you spend so much more time with him or her. Whether it's realizing what really matters. For me personally, I think it has put a lot of things into perspective, especially around consumption. I really feel grateful for the very basic things, such as being able to get good produce and create a really nice meal.
Yeah, right.
Being able to have those conversations with real contact, where you actually talk about what's going on inside you instead of just talk about nonsense like other people or whatever you can be distracted with. So I think that there's so many aspects of this that can be turned into something positive. I'm not saying that the entire situation is positive, because it's not, but I think there are a lot of things that we can take out of this. For me personally, there's also this notion of growth and hypergrowth that I'm questioning at the moment, because I actually see I also for us see a great value in the current situation, where we get to slow down things a bit. We get to go a bit more in the organizational fitness center and actually build up some more muscles, ensure that we are fit in all aspects of the organization, that our communication flows are intact, that that nothing is falling between chairs. So for me, it feels like we can do a lot of nurturing work in our organization, and as well as our lives, nurture our mind and our body, our relations, and at the moment we're really nurturing the planet as well. With almost no flight trips and so much lower production, consumption, everything. So I really hope we we take some very important learnings out of this, and that we don't just you know, in a couple of months or whenever this is back to normal, forget about this and get back into the wheel without stopping up and reflecting.
Thank you so much, Maria, for those very, very deep words. And I think I agree mostly. And I think all of us have, at least, even if we haven't expressed it that thoroughly yet, thought about this. Before I send you off, we always ask, what are your questions at the moment, maybe personally or for Pleo? Is there something that we can maybe do here in our Corona chats in terms of topics or things to be addressed, certain content that you either recommend or that you would like to see? What are your questions at the moment? What would help you as a country manager, for example? What are you busy with exploring?
I think we can always deepen our understanding of our customers. And in this case, you know, as you said in the beginning, we're basically serving the same type of market, right? The same companies. So, you know, I'm always eager to understand this segment of companies better, also in terms of what they need at the moment, you know, how we can support them. We talk a lot internally about content. What, you know, it's floated with Corona tips and all these type of things. So what is it really that can make a difference nowadays? Right. And that's where I have a small personal agenda where I really hope that this time can also increase authenticity. Right. And that we can have conversations that go a bit deeper and that might tap into something a bit vulnerable, because I think that's where we can touch people. I think that's where we can really highlight that we are all humans, and we are facing these extremely difficult situations, and that, you know, that is not always purely rational. You know, we gotta create a space where people can feel that it's completely normal to sit with feelings of anxiety or fear, and that's not just being, you know, being pushed away because, right, oh, now we're in a professional work setting and everything has to be, you know, with a mask on. And yeah. So I think that's you know, even greater insights into our customer base, and B, you know, just contribution to creating a space of greater level of authenticity.
Maria, I think you're leading the pack here. As a country manager with your authenticity. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope we see each other very soon in Berlin once you can come down again. Until then, be safe, and we chat really, really soon, eh?
Yes, thank you so much.
Chat soon, Maria. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.